When life hits you with challenges, when things don't go the way you expected, and when your world feels like it's falling apart, don't panic. I'm here to tell you today, God has a plan. No matter how tough it gets, He's got it all worked out. Let me remind you, your present circumstances are not your final destination. Keep breathing, because He's always working behind the scenes, shaping the destiny you can't see yet. Your journey isn't over. God has a plan for you, for your future, for your peace, and for your breakthrough. Can I get an amen to that? We all go through moments in life where we feel stuck, uncertain, or lost. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that just because we don't see the path ahead, we're not going anywhere. But here's the truth. Trust the process. Life is not meant to be a smooth, predictable ride. If you're constantly in pursuit of perfection, you're going to miss the power that comes from growth. Because growth doesn't happen when everything is perfect. It happens in the trenches, in the mess, in the struggle. You see, there's a divine process unfolding that's shaping you into the person you need to become. Trust it, even when you can't see the outcome. I know it's hard when you're standing at the crossroads, staring at a foggy future, wondering where to go next. You want answers. You want certainty. You want to know that all of this is going somewhere. And it is. The process is often disguised as problems. You look at your life and think, I'm stuck. But let me remind you, sometimes you're not stuck. You're in preparation. You might not be able to see it now, but each hurdle you face, each challenge that feels insurmountable, is laying the groundwork for the life you've been praying for. It's like when a seed is planted in the dirt. It doesn't look like much at first, just a small, insignificant thing buried under layers of earth. But if you were to dig it up too soon, you'd kill its potential. The growth is happening beneath the surface, and you don't even know it. It's happening when you can't see it, when you can't feel it. It's happening in the waiting. It's happening in the quiet moments, the ones where you feel like nothing is moving. Think about the caterpillar before it becomes a butterfly. It spends its entire life crawling on the ground, inching along, unaware of the majestic transformation that's coming. But inside, something is changing. It's preparing for flight. The process is happening, even though it doesn't look like anything is happening. Trust the process. There are days when the process feels like failure. Days when it feels like you've been walking uphill for miles, and the summit is nowhere in sight. You wonder if it's worth it. You question your own strength. You doubt your worth. And in those moments, the only thing you have to hold on to is your faith. The faith that says, even though I can't see it, I know something greater is unfolding. Even though I can't understand it, I trust that everything I'm going through is shaping me into the person I am meant to be. I want to give you an example. Have you ever watched a potter work with clay? The clay doesn't start as a beautiful masterpiece. It's a lump, a mess, a thing that seems like it's got no real purpose. But the potter knows what it can become. With every twist, every turn, every press, the potter shapes it, molds it, and refines it until it takes form. And do you know what? Sometimes the clay resists, sometimes it cracks, and the potter has to smooth it out again. Sometimes in your life, you may feel like you're being pressed down, like you're being reshaped and refined. But understand this, it's all part of the process. If you look at your life as a series of events that are happening to you, it can be hard to see the bigger picture. But if you look at your life as a masterpiece that's being crafted by the hands of a divine artist, every setback is just a step in your creation. You may not understand it now, but eventually, when you look back, you'll see how each challenge played a role in shaping you into someone stronger, someone wiser, someone more capable than you ever imagined. Look at the example of Thomas Edison. He failed over 1,000 times before he created the light bulb. Can you imagine how many people told him to give up? How many times he doubted himself? But every time he failed, he didn't see it as failure. He saw it as a lesson. He said, I haven't failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that won't work. Edison trusted the process. He didn't stop. He didn't give up, because he knew that every failure was a step closer to his success. And you should do the same. Even when the road gets tough, even when you don't have the answers, you have to keep walking. Keep trusting the process, because it's working for you, even when you can't see it. Let me take you back to a moment when you faced something difficult. Think about a time when you thought you couldn't go on, when you were ready to quit, and yet somehow you made it through. You didn't quit. You didn't give up. You kept going, and now you're stronger because of it. That's the power of trusting the process. You have already been through tough moments before, and you made it. And each time you got stronger, more resilient, more capable of handling the challenges that come your way. That's because growth doesn't happen when life is easy. It happens when life is hard, when you're in the fire, and you don't feel like you can take any more heat. But if you can just keep holding on, keep trusting, keep believing, you'll come out on the other side stronger than before. So don't worry, don't panic. Even when you don't see it, God is working. Even when you don't understand it, He is orchestrating a plan for your life that is bigger than anything you can imagine. The process is what's going to take you to the next level. You may not get there immediately. You may not even get there how you think you will, but in the end you'll be right where you were meant to be, stronger, wiser, and ready to step into your purpose. There are moments in life when we're hit with the unexpected, when what we thought we knew about our journey takes a sharp turn, and the map we've been following seems completely irrelevant. And in those moments, we can't help but ask why. Why did this happen? Why does life feel so different from what I imagined? But I want you to hear this. God's plan isn't always what you expected. It's bigger than your dreams, bigger than your comfort zone, and yes, bigger than anything you could have ever envisioned. We all have a picture in our minds of how life is supposed to unfold, don't we? We set out with hopes, expectations, and goals. We create this vision for ourselves, a vision of the career we want, the relationships we desire, the lifestyle we dream of. We think we know the exact path to take. But when things don't align with our expectations, when life challenges us in ways we didn't plan for, we start to question, is this a detour, or is this the path I'm meant to be on? Let me tell you something. It's not a detour. It's the process that leads to something far greater than what you had in mind. Look at the life of a caterpillar. It spends its early days crawling on the ground, looking for food, staying close to the earth, and living a simple, predictable life. But there comes a time when it enters into a cocoon, where everything about its life changes. It's a transformation that seems impossible, that looks like a death. On the outside, it seems like it's all over for the caterpillar. But in the cocoon, something miraculous is happening. The caterpillar is not dying. It's being made into something new. It has no idea what lies ahead. But trust me, when it emerges as a butterfly, it will realize that the life it once knew was only the beginning. And just like that, what you are going through right now may feel like the end, but it's just the beginning of something far more magnificent. Let's take a look at a more practical example. Imagine someone working a job they've dreamed about for years. They go to school, earn the degree, and land that prestigious position. It's everything they've been working toward. But then suddenly, things change. The job is no longer fulfilling. They're unhappy, and they're faced with a tough decision. Do they stick it out, or do they leave to pursue something new? What they don't know is that this situation isn't a failure. It's simply a shift. God is creating room for something better. What they may not realize in the moment is that this shift is leading them toward a path that will make them happier, more fulfilled, and more aligned with their true calling. In the grand scheme of things, their disappointment with the job they thought would define them is just a stepping stone, part of the much bigger plan. Consider the story of Steve Jobs. Here was a man who founded Apple, one of the most successful companies in the world. But before that, he was fired from the very company he started. Imagine the confusion, the frustration, the feeling of failure he must have experienced. He probably had no idea where his life was headed at that point. Yet in his own words, being fired from Apple was the best thing that ever happened to him. That failure was the very thing that pushed him to grow, to innovate, and to create something that would change the world. If Jobs had never experienced that setback, we might not have had the products that revolutionized technology. His plan at that time wasn't the plan. God's plan was bigger than his vision. Sometimes, we need to be pushed off the path we think we want in order to find the one we were truly meant for. We all know the pain of unfulfilled expectations. Maybe you've been working for a promotion that seems just out of reach, or maybe the relationship you thought was the one ended unexpectedly. You wonder, why did it go this way? And yet as time passes, you begin to realize that the path you were on wasn't right for you after all. The job you thought was your dream job was only a stepping stone to something bigger. The relationship that didn't work out was simply clearing space for someone who truly values you. God's plan is bigger than your dreams, and while it might not always make sense in the moment, it is always working for your good. Take the story of J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series. Before she became one of the world's wealthiest authors, she was a single mother, struggling to make ends meet. Her first Harry Potter manuscript was rejected by 12 different publishers, but she didn't give up. She didn't let the rejection define her. She trusted that there was something greater in store, even when the world around her told her otherwise. Eventually, she found the right publisher, and the rest is history. Can you imagine if she had quit after the first rejection, or the second, or the 12th? The world would have missed out on one of the greatest literary success stories of all time. What she thought was failure was actually the beginning of the success she was destined for. And you too are in a season where what you think is failure may very well be the very thing that leads you to the success you've been praying for. You may not understand it right now, but trust that this isn't the end. It's just a part of the process. God's plan is bigger than your vision, and although it may not look like what you expected, it's always leading you to greater things. So the next time life doesn't go according to your plan, don't panic. Know that God is rearranging things for your greater good, and what looks like a setback is actually preparing you for your next breakthrough. We live in a world that constantly demands results, and if those results aren't immediate, we often start to panic. We feel like we're running out of time, that we're not moving fast enough, that we're missing out on something. But the truth is, patience is the key to the next level of your life. You've heard the saying, good things come to those who wait. But let me tell you something even deeper. Good things come to those who wait and trust the timing of their life. When you trust the timing of your life, you allow the right opportunities, the right people, and the right circumstances to show up at the right moment. It's all about timing, not just effort. Look at the story of a bamboo tree. The bamboo tree doesn't grow overnight. In fact, for the first 5 years, it appears as if nothing is happening. The seed is planted, the soil is nourished, but there's no visible growth. But underneath the surface, something is happening. The roots are being established. The bamboo tree is preparing for its incredible growth spurt. Then after 5 years, in a matter of weeks, it shoots up and can grow up to 80 feet in a few weeks. But all that growth was happening beneath the surface. The patience of the bamboo is a perfect analogy for our own lives. We can't always see the roots of our efforts, the unseen work that is being done in our lives. But that doesn't mean it isn't happening. It's during the waiting period, during the seasons of uncertainty, that the foundation is being built for what is coming. In your life, you may be working hard at a job, in your relationships, or on your personal goals, and it may feel like nothing is moving forward. You might be asking, when will it be my time? When will I see the breakthrough I've been praying for? But just like the bamboo tree, The work is happening below the surface. There are things in your life that need to be aligned before your breakthrough can come. There are lessons you need to learn, skills you need to develop, and patience you need to build. If everything were to come at once, you wouldn't be prepared for it. It would overwhelm you. So instead, God is using this season of waiting to grow you in ways you can't even imagine. Think about someone who is working toward a promotion. They are dedicated, showing up every day, giving their best. But no matter how hard they work, it feels like they're invisible. Their boss doesn't seem to notice their efforts, and they wonder if they're ever going to get the recognition they deserve. In those moments, it's easy to start questioning your value and your worth. But the truth is, the promotion is not just about doing the work, it's about timing. It's about being ready for the right opportunity when it comes. Maybe right now, you're being prepared in ways you don't see, developing the skill set and mindset needed to excel at the next level. That's why you can't rush the process. You can't skip over the stages of growth. There's an old saying that says, you can't rush greatness. And when you think about the greats, you see this truth in action. Think about Serena Williams, one of the greatest athletes of all time. Her journey didn't happen overnight. It took years of dedication, hours of practice, and countless setbacks. But every time she faced a setback, she didn't quit. She kept trusting the process. She kept pushing forward, knowing that each loss, each injury, and each failure was building the resilience and strength she needed to get to the next level. Patience was a part of her journey. There were no shortcuts to her success. Another example that comes to mind is the story of an author. They've written their first book, poured their heart and soul into it, but when it's time to submit it to publishers, they receive rejection after rejection. The initial feeling is discouragement. Why am I not good enough? Why doesn't anyone see the value in my work? But the reality is, every rejection is not the end. It's part of the path. If that author had given up after the first rejection, we wouldn't have some of the greatest books we know today. The author needed to grow in patience, to refine their writing skills, to improve their craft. They were not being held back. They were being prepared for the moment when everything aligned, and when it did, they reached success beyond their wildest dreams. Let's take a deeper look at your own life. Perhaps you've been waiting for something, for a relationship, for a job, for a breakthrough in your finances. You feel like you're working harder than ever, but the results aren't showing up fast enough. And in those moments, it's easy to get discouraged. You feel like the universe is against you, like everything is moving too slowly. But the truth is, you are not stuck. You are being prepared. The timing of your breakthrough is not in your control, but it is in the hands of a higher power who knows exactly when you are ready. Trust the timing. Trust the process. It's like the process of baking a cake. If you pull the cake out of the oven too early, it will be raw inside. No matter how badly you want to taste it, you have to wait for it to bake fully. The same is true for your life. You are in a process, and the timing is not in your hands. But that doesn't mean you are not on the path to greatness. That doesn't mean your dream is not in the works. Everything is happening in the right timing. So I encourage you to take a step back today and trust that the process of waiting is not wasted time. It's not time lost. It's time being used to refine you, to prepare you, to shape you into the person you need to be, to handle the blessings that are coming your way. Every delay, every setback, every waiting season is part of the preparation for the breakthrough that you're about to experience. The next level of your life is being crafted in the waiting, and soon enough, the moment will come when you'll look back and see how perfectly everything has aligned. There's something profound about the idea of timing. Life is all about the right moments, and too often we find ourselves wanting things right now. We look at where others are in their journey, and we compare our path with theirs. We think, why not me? Why not now? But here's what I want you to understand today. Not every door is meant for you to walk through today. Some doors will open only when you are truly ready to step through them. The key is understanding that there's a right moment, a perfect alignment between who you are, what you've learned, and what you are about to receive. Let's take the example of a person who has been applying for jobs for months and getting no responses. Every time they get a rejection email, it stings. They start questioning their worth, their qualifications, their skills. Why isn't anyone noticing them? Why can't they just land that dream job already? It's frustrating. It feels like they're doing everything right, but the results aren't coming. But sometimes the job is not just about getting the position. It's about getting to the point where you're ready for it. And that's when everything changes. When the right job comes, the experience you've gained from the journey, the rejections, the lessons, and even the failures will give you the strength to step into that new opportunity and make the most of it. The lesson here is that not everything is going to work out when you want it to, but it will happen when it's meant to. Consider the story of someone who has been working tirelessly on building their business. They're putting in the hours, they're hustling, they're giving it everything they have, but no matter what they do, they can't seem to break through. It feels like every step forward is followed by 2 steps back, and in those moments, doubt creeps in. They wonder if they're on the right path. They wonder if it's ever going to happen. But then out of nowhere, the right partnership or the right client comes along. The breakthrough they've been working for all along finally arrives. It wasn't about doing more, it was about being aligned with the right timing. When you push, when you grind, when you do everything you can, there's a certain point where God steps in and makes things happen at the exact moment you're ready. Look at Thomas Edison. He failed thousands of times before creating the light bulb. Thousands, can you imagine? Most people would have quit after the first few attempts, maybe even after the first 100. But Edison didn't. He knew that every failure was part of the process. What looked like failure to others was a stepping stone to success. He didn't just try once and give up. He kept pushing, kept testing, and when the right moment came, when everything aligned, that's when the light bulb lit up. What if he had given up too soon? What if he believed that because it didn't happen right away, it wasn't meant to happen at all? The timing wasn't just about the experiment. It was about his persistence and his readiness for that breakthrough moment. The thing about timing is that you don't always see it coming. You might be in the thick of it, frustrated with the process, feeling like things aren't moving at the speed you want them to. But let me tell you something. You are being prepared for something extraordinary. Every challenge, every delay, every door that closes is part of the preparation. Life is aligning everything around you, moving things behind the scenes to put you in the exact place you need to be. The universe, God, or whatever higher power you believe in, is not against you. Everything happening is part of a grand design. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. Sometimes the thing you want the most needs to be delayed for a reason. Sometimes you're not ready, but when you are, when the timing is right, that dream you've been chasing will come to you in ways that will blow your mind. Take a moment to think about someone you admire. Maybe it's an entrepreneur, an athlete, an artist, or anyone you look up to. Do you think they just snapped their fingers and got to where they are? Absolutely not. They've faced rejection, failure, setbacks, and delays just like you. But what they've done differently is understand that timing is everything. They didn't let failure stop them. They didn't let the delays break them. They understood that everything happens in its own time. And when the timing was right, they were ready to seize their moment. Think about the love of your life. You've probably been waiting for the right person, for someone who truly understands you and matches your energy. You may have had relationships that didn't work out, heartaches and disappointments. And in those moments, it's easy to think, maybe I'll never find the right one. But let me ask you, do you think you're really ready for the love of your life today? Are you the person you need to be to attract that kind of love? Sometimes life holds off on bringing the right person to you because you need to be the right person first. You need to be whole, to have learned the lessons, to have grown in self-love and self-worth. When you are ready, when you've prepared yourself for that kind of love, that's when it will come. The timing will be right. Look at Michael Jordan. He was cut from his high school basketball team. Can you imagine? The greatest basketball player of all time was told he wasn't good enough. But he didn't give up. He didn't let that rejection define him. He went on to practice harder, to refine his skills, and to wait for the right opportunity. He knew that failure wasn't the end. It was part of the journey. And when the moment came, he was ready. The timing was right. And when it was, he became the legend he is today. In every part of your life, there's a time for everything. The job, the relationship, the dream, all of it will come when it's supposed to. You may not understand it now, but trust in the process. Your time will come. Your breakthrough is coming. And when it does, it will be worth every moment of waiting. Don't let the delay discourage you. It's not a no. It's just not yet. Keep pushing. Keep growing. Keep trusting. When the timing is right, it will all come together. When you understand the concept of God having a plan for you, you begin to see the challenges in your life as opportunities for growth rather than obstacles to your happiness. Sometimes we get so caught up in what we're going through that we forget there is a bigger purpose at play. Every step you take, even the painful ones, are part of a divine blueprint that's being carefully crafted for your future. Your struggles, your setbacks, your disappointments are not random. They're all stepping stones on the path to something greater. Think about the story of a seed. A seed doesn't just grow instantly. It's planted in the soil, buried in darkness, subjected to pressure, and often surrounded by dirt. It struggles to push through, yet it doesn't stop. It doesn't have control over the conditions it's placed in, but it trusts that in time, with patience and persistence, it will break through that dark earth and emerge into the light. Life is just like that seed. Sometimes you feel like you're stuck in the dirt, struggling, not seeing the light, not knowing what's ahead. But trust me, God has already planted greatness within you, and just like that seed, you're going to emerge stronger, wiser, and ready for everything that's meant for you. Take a moment to think about the times in your life when things didn't go as planned. Maybe you didn't get that promotion you wanted. Maybe a relationship you thought was going to work out fell apart. Maybe you've had health issues, financial struggles, or times when it felt like the world was against you. In those moments of pain, in those moments of not understanding why things are happening, it's easy to think that God has forgotten about you, that your dreams are slipping away. But let me tell you something, God is not punishing you. He's preparing you. Every obstacle you face is a lesson in resilience, in patience, and in trust. The delays in your life are not denials. They are divine detours that are guiding you to where you need to be. Look at the example of Joseph in the Bible. He was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and spent years in prison, unjustly accused. For all we know, he could have been sitting there thinking, God, why have you forsaken me? Why am I suffering while my brothers are out there living their lives? But what he didn't know was that the suffering he was enduring was preparing him for something far greater. Joseph's prison became his preparation for ruling Egypt. He could not have seen that in the moment, but looking back, he understood that everything he went through was a part of the plan that God had for him. Joseph had to go through that dark period of his life to be ready for the throne. Without those trials, without those detours, he would not have been the man he became. Take another example from everyday life. A person struggling with finances, working hard, but just not making enough to make ends meet. It's discouraging. They see others around them who seem to have it all together, and they begin to ask, why me? Why can't I catch a break? But this is where perspective matters. The struggle is not a sign of failure. It's often a sign that God is preparing you for a breakthrough. Sometimes you have to walk through financial hardship to learn discipline, to learn how to manage your resources well, and to gain the empathy you'll need when your breakthrough comes. When you learn to be grateful for the little, God will give you more. The key is not in focusing on what you don't have, but on making the most of what you do have, and trusting that the plan will unfold at the right time. I know someone who struggled with their career for years. They went from job to job, never quite finding the right fit, never being able to reach the heights they had envisioned for themselves. But instead of giving up, they took every job, every opportunity, no matter how small it seemed, as a learning experience. They kept pushing, kept developing their skills, and kept believing that the right opportunity would come. And it did. It came when they were ready. It came when they had finally built the character and the expertise necessary to take on the responsibility of a dream job. If they had gotten that dream job 5 years earlier, they wouldn't have been ready. Sometimes the wait is about preparation, not punishment. Let's talk about a more personal example: relationships. We all know the heartbreak of a failed relationship. We give so much of ourselves. We invest our time, energy, and emotions. And when things don't work out, it hurts. It's easy to fall into despair, to think, why didn't it work? What did I do wrong? Why am I still alone? But here's the thing. God's plan for you in relationships isn't always about the person you think you want, but the person you are meant to become. Maybe you've been through heartbreak, but those experiences have shaped you. They've taught you about self-worth, about what you will and will not accept. They've prepared you for the relationship you truly deserve, the one that is in alignment with your growth, your purpose, and your destiny. God is not just preparing the person you'll love, He's preparing you. The reality is, we cannot see the full picture. We see only pieces. When you're going through something difficult, when things aren't going as you expect, when you feel like nothing is working out, remember this: God is always working behind the scenes. You may not feel it, you may not see it, but He is moving mountains for you, aligning people, opportunities, and situations for your good. There are moments in life where we look back and realize that we were exactly where we were supposed to be, even when it didn't feel like it at the time. The truth is, nothing in your life is by accident. Even the painful chapters have a purpose. God has a plan for your life, and that plan is filled with purpose, fulfillment, and greatness. You may not understand why things are happening right now, but trust me, it's all part of the bigger picture. You're not just going through struggles for the sake of struggle. You're being built, you're being prepared, you're being transformed into the person you need to be, for the incredible future that awaits you. Keep believing, keep trusting, and know that the best is yet to come. When we talk about the truth that you are stronger than you think, we are touching on something profound. There is an inner power within you that has been tested and refined through every challenge, every trial, every hardship you faced. The thing is, you don't always realize just how strong you are until you're forced to step up and face life head on. You have a strength inside you that cannot be measured by your current circumstances. It's not always visible to the naked eye, but it's there, waiting to be unleashed. Think about the countless moments in your life where you thought you couldn't go on. Maybe it was a breakup, the loss of a job, or the death of a loved one. At those moments, when you felt utterly defeated, you didn't know how you were going to make it through. But here you are, still standing, still fighting, still moving forward. That's the strength we're talking about. The strength that rises within you when you think you have nothing left to give. The strength that pushes you to take that next step, even when you feel like giving up. That's a strength that you can't even begin to quantify, but it's there, and it will carry you through every storm. Let's take a moment to consider a single mother who's juggling multiple jobs, raising children, keeping the house together, and doing everything she can to create a better life for her family. On the outside, it might look like she's barely holding it together, but the truth is, she is doing the impossible every single day. She is waking up before the sun rises, working tirelessly through the day, and still making sure her kids feel loved and cared for. She doesn't always feel strong, but the reality is, her strength is limitless. She might doubt herself from time to time, but every time she pushes through another difficult moment, she's tapping into a strength she never knew she had. Now let's take another example. Think about someone dealing with chronic illness. The struggle of waking up every day, in pain, the mental and emotional toll of not knowing what tomorrow will bring, the uncertainty of living with something that seems impossible to overcome.
It's easy to feel small, to feel weak, to feel as though life is against you, but you're stronger than you think. The fact that you get out of bed each day, that you continue to put one foot in front of the other, despite the immense challenges, shows the depth of your strength. You may not feel powerful, but you are. The strength is in your perseverance, in your refusal to let circumstances define you. Strength is not always about physical ability. It's about mental fortitude. It's about the will to keep moving forward, no matter how hard life gets. There's also the story of a person who has faced multiple failures in their career. They've tried and tried again, and every time, they've been knocked down. Maybe they've lost opportunities, maybe they've faced rejection, or perhaps they've been told they don't have what it takes. In those moments, it's easy to feel defeated, to think that maybe they just aren't cut out for success. But here's the thing. Failure is not the end of the road. It's a lesson, it's a stepping stone to success. Every time they get back up, every time they try again, they are proving to themselves just how strong they are. They might not see it in the moment, but every failure makes them more resilient, more capable of achieving greatness. The strength is in their refusal to quit, in their belief that they have the ability to rise again. There's also the example of a person struggling with mental health. It's not always easy to talk about, but let's acknowledge it. Mental health struggles can make you feel like you're drowning. Whether it's depression, anxiety, or something else, there are days when getting out of bed feels like a monumental task. But here's the truth. You are strong because you keep going. You might not feel like it, but every day you choose to keep fighting. Every day you choose to take care of yourself. Every small step you take toward healing is a testament to your inner strength. Mental strength is not about having everything figured out. It's about showing up for yourself, even when you feel at your weakest. I want you to think about a person who has faced extreme adversity. Maybe they were raised in poverty. Maybe they came from a broken family. Or perhaps they had to overcome systemic barriers that others will never understand. The world told them they couldn't succeed, that they didn't have what it takes, and that they'd never amount to anything. But here's what's powerful. Despite what the world said, they didn't listen. They didn't give up. They didn't let their circumstances define them. They tapped into something deep within them, something far stronger than the world's opinion, and they made it through. The strength we're talking about is the kind of strength that refuses to be silenced. The kind of strength that says, no matter what life throws at me, I will not break. One of the most incredible things about being human is the ability to endure and overcome. It's about taking the hard knocks that life throws at you and using them to grow, to build, and to rise even higher than before. You may not see the full picture of how strong you are in the moment, but I promise you, every struggle you've endured has built you into someone capable of conquering anything. Every hardship has given you tools, wisdom, and perseverance that will serve you in ways you can't even begin to comprehend yet. Think of it this way. You are like a piece of iron. When iron is put under intense heat and pressure, it becomes steel. It's not easy. It's not pleasant. But when it's all said and done, the result is a material stronger than it was before. That's what you're becoming. Life is applying pressure to you, but with every challenge, you're becoming more unbreakable, more capable, and more prepared for the greatness that lies ahead. So when you feel weak, when you feel like giving up, remember you are stronger than you think. The strength is inside you, waiting for the moment when you need it most. And no matter what life throws your way, you are capable of handling it, overcoming it, and rising to even greater heights.
When we talk about trusting the process, we are touching on one of the most powerful aspects of life. Too often we find ourselves in situations where we don't understand why things are happening the way they are. We question our journey. We ask why things aren't moving faster, why our dreams aren't manifesting right away. We look at other people's lives, their success stories, and wonder why we're not there yet. The truth is, the process is working even when it feels like nothing is happening. Life has a way of teaching us lessons through patience and persistence, and there is a reason why certain things take time to unfold. Trusting the process means having faith that even when you can't see it, everything is happening for your good. Let's start with something simple. Think about a seed. When you plant a seed in the ground, it doesn't immediately turn into a tree. There's no instant result, no immediate gratification. You water it, you nurture it, you wait, and it can seem like nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, something incredible is occurring. Roots are growing, the foundation is being built, and the plant is slowly but surely getting ready to break through the soil. What's fascinating is that if you were to dig up the seed too early, you would destroy it. The process is necessary. Without it, the seed could never reach its full potential. The same is true for your dreams and goals. You might not see the growth right away, but everything you need is happening beneath the surface, getting you ready for your breakthrough. Think about a person in a difficult job. Maybe they're stuck in a position that doesn't excite them, but they show up every day with a mindset of dedication, even when it doesn't feel rewarding. They don't understand why they're still in this role, why things aren't moving forward faster. But one day, their persistence pays off. Through the long hours, the challenges, and the seemingly mundane tasks, they've built a level of expertise, a work ethic, and a reputation that positions them for the next big opportunity. Their journey, though difficult, has been preparing them for what's coming next. Trusting the process means that even when it feels like you're not getting anywhere, you are building your skills, your character, and your resilience for something greater. Let's also take a look at someone who's gone through a breakup. At the time, it felt like the world was crumbling around them. Their heart was broken, and it seemed like life would never be the same again. But what they didn't know was that this painful moment was setting the stage for something better. They were learning about their worth, about the things they needed to work on, and the love they had to give themselves before they could give it to someone else. In the midst of the pain, they were being refined, just like a diamond in the rough. The relationship didn't work out, but it was a necessary part of their journey to healing and to understanding what they truly wanted and needed. Trusting the process doesn't mean ignoring the pain. It means understanding that the pain has a purpose, that it is leading you to the right place, even when you don't know what that place is. Now let's think about someone starting a business. Entrepreneurship is not easy. There are moments of doubt, frustration, and uncertainty. You can pour your heart and soul into something and still face rejection, failures, and losses. But here's the thing, every setback is a lesson. Every time something doesn't work, it's teaching you something valuable about how to improve, how to evolve, how to find the right solution. The road to success is never straight. It's filled with twists and turns, but those twists are what make the journey worthwhile. The person who is patient, who trusts that their effort is not in vain, will eventually find success, not because they had the right answer from the beginning, but because they learned from every misstep and kept going. Consider a student who is struggling with their grades. They're working hard, but it feels like the results are slow to come. They question whether they're even cut out for this. But the process of learning is more than just getting a grade. It's about developing the skills, the discipline, and the resilience to succeed. The late night studying, the frustration over difficult concepts, these things are part of the process of growth. It's not just about the outcome, it's about the transformation that happens along the way. When that student eventually graduates, they don't just have a degree, they have the ability to persevere through challenges, to work hard in the face of adversity, and to continue learning long after school is over. Trusting the process is knowing that the struggle is just part of the journey, and without it, you wouldn't become who you were meant to be. Think of a writer working on their first book. The blank page can feel overwhelming. They have an idea, but turning it into a finished product feels like a monumental task. They might face writer's block, self-doubt, and criticism, and the progress can feel painfully slow. But each word written, each chapter completed, is part of the process that leads to the final manuscript. What might feel like failure, what might feel like a lack of progress, is actually progress in disguise. It's all part of the journey of creation. Trusting the process means believing that your effort will eventually lead to the success you desire, even when the path isn't clear. It's about understanding that every step, no matter how small, is moving you closer to your goal. The key to trusting the process is patience. And I'm not talking about passive patience, where you just wait around for things to magically happen. No, I'm talking about an active patience, the kind that shows up every day, that continues to put in the work, even when the results aren't visible yet. Trusting the process means having faith in your journey, even when you can't see the destination. It's about having a deep, unwavering belief that everything you're going through right now is shaping you for something greater. The challenges, the delays, the struggles, they're all part of a bigger plan. And when you look back, you'll realize that every step of the journey, every bit of effort, was worth it. Trusting the process isn't about being comfortable with where you are, but knowing that where you are is part of the path that will eventually take you to where you need to be. Keep moving forward, keep believing, keep working, because the process, as slow and uncertain as it may seem, is working in your favor. It's making you stronger, wiser, and more prepared for what's to come. There is something profound about the notion that you are not your past. So often, we allow the failures, mistakes, and missed opportunities of our past to define us. We look back and see a version of ourselves that was weak, uncertain, or unsuccessful. But here's the truth. What happened yesterday is irrelevant to who you are today. Your past does not dictate your future unless you let it. The weight of past failures, mistakes, or hardships can be a heavy burden to carry. But the moment you realize that your past does not define you is the moment you step into your true power. Let's take a simple, yet powerful example. Imagine someone who has struggled with addiction in their past. For years, they battled with the chains of their dependency, believing they were nothing more than a product of their mistakes. They felt like they were trapped in a cycle of despair, unable to break free. But one day, something shifted. They woke up and realized that no matter what they had gone through, they were not defined by their past decisions. They made a choice to take control of their life, to rebuild their future, and to overcome the darkness that had once consumed them. What mattered was not the years lost in addiction, but the strength and courage they found to walk away from it and choose something better. And that person, who was once defined by their past struggles, became an inspiration for others. They weren't their mistakes, they were their recovery, their growth, and their transformation. Think about someone who grew up in a difficult environment, where opportunities were scarce and expectations were low. Maybe they didn't have access to the best education, the most supportive family, or the financial means to go after their dreams. But somewhere along the way, they realized that their background didn't have to limit their potential. They didn't have to be defined by the poverty, neglect, or struggle they experienced as a child. With grit and determination, they decided that their circumstances would not be a cage that confined them forever. They sought out opportunities, worked tirelessly, and refused to let their history hold them back. They built a new future for themselves, not by ignoring their past, but by acknowledging it and choosing to rise above it. Their success was not a reflection of how hard their past was, but a testament to the power of believing that they could be more than what they had been. There are countless stories of individuals who have risen from the ashes of failure. Take someone who's been through a divorce. In the moment, it feels like the end of everything. They feel like a failure, as if they weren't enough or didn't deserve love. But the truth is, a divorce doesn't define a person. It's just a chapter in a much larger story. What matters is not the end of that relationship, but what you choose to do next. You can choose to let that experience break you, or you can choose to learn from it, grow from it, and use it to become the best version of yourself. The individual who was once broken can rise stronger, with new wisdom, more compassion, and an understanding that love is not confined to one person or one moment. They can go on to build healthier relationships, forge new paths, paths and create the life they deserve. They are not their failed marriage, but rather, they are the person who emerged from the struggle with resilience and strength. There's another powerful example of someone who faces rejection time and time again. Perhaps they've tried and failed in the job market, never quite landing that dream role. They start to wonder if maybe they're just not cut out for success, if perhaps they'll never get what they want. But here's the truth. Rejection is not a reflection of your worth. Rejection is simply redirection. Every time you hear, no, it's one step closer to hearing. Yes, the person who can keep going in the face of rejection, who doesn't allow their past failures to define them, is the person who will ultimately succeed. It's about shifting your perspective, understanding that each no is not a statement about your abilities, but a stepping stone toward the right opportunity. The person who once felt defeated because of constant rejection can one day look back and see how those no's were simply guiding them toward the perfect fit, the perfect job, the perfect life. They are not their past rejections. They are the person who persisted and found the success they were meant for. Think about the many ways we are told by society that we are supposed to look, act, or be. There's a standard of beauty, of success, of perfection that the world pushes on us. And when we don't meet those standards, we feel less than, inadequate, or unworthy. But the truth is, you are more than enough, just as you are. Whether you fit the mold society tries to create for you or not, your value doesn't lie in your appearance or your outward success. It lies in who you are as a person. You are not your body, your job, or your title. You are your character, your integrity, your strength, and your heart. The world may try to box you in, but you are meant to break free from that box and define yourself on your own terms. You are not the version of you that society says you should be. You are the version of you that you choose to become. So many of us struggle with letting go of our past because we feel that it's an integral part of who we are. But in truth, your past is just a collection of events and decisions that have shaped you, but it does not have to limit you. You are not your mistakes, and you are not the sum of your failures. You are the lessons you've learned, the strength you've gained, and the person you've become. It's time to embrace that truth and start living the life you deserve. Every day is a new opportunity to step into a better version of yourself, and that version of you is not bound by what has happened before. Your past is just that, the past. What matters now is the person you choose to be today, and the future you are creating. Let go of what no longer serves you, and embrace the powerful, incredible person you are becoming. There is something incredibly powerful about the idea of standing firm in your faith when the world around you is shaking, when everything seems uncertain, and when you feel as though everything is falling apart. Faith is not just about believing when everything is going well. It's easy to have faith when the sun is shining and life is smooth. But the true strength of faith is revealed when you are walking through the storm, when the winds of doubt are howling, and when the ground beneath you feels unstable. Think about the countless people who face hardships every single day, and yet they hold on to their faith. They don't give up when things seem impossible. They lean into their belief that something greater is in control. Imagine the single mother who wakes up at 5 a.m. every day to provide for her children, working 2 jobs, struggling to make ends meet. In the midst of exhaustion and financial strain, she doesn't allow her circumstances to steal her hope. She trusts that God has a plan for her life, that this struggle is temporary, and that her perseverance will pay off. She holds on to faith, even when everything around her is telling her to quit. And in the end, that faith does not fail her. Eventually, doors open, opportunities arise, and the future she once dreamed of begins to take shape. Her faith was the anchor that kept her going, even when the waves of adversity threatened to drown her.
There's also the story of someone who faces illness, perhaps even a terminal diagnosis. In the moment when the doctor gives them the news, they are struck by fear and uncertainty. It's easy to imagine that their world crumbles in that instant, as they are faced with the reality of their situation. But there are those who, despite the diagnosis, choose to put their trust in something greater than the medicine, the statistics, and the prognosis. They stand firm in their belief that even if they don't understand the why, God has a plan for their life. They choose to face the illness with courage, and rather than allowing fear to consume them, they allow their faith to give them strength. Every day, they rise with a renewed sense of hope, believing that every moment is a gift. Whether they live 5 more years or 50, their faith guides them through each day, and they choose to live with gratitude, love, and determination. Their unwavering belief in a higher purpose carries them, even when the circumstances are not in their favor. It's not just the big life challenges that reveal the depth of our faith. Sometimes, it's the smaller, everyday struggles that test us the most. Consider someone who's facing rejection, perhaps after pouring their heart and soul into a project or a job opportunity. They could easily give up, feeling discouraged and defeated. They could allow the rejection to define them and believe that they're not worthy of success. But faith tells them a different story. Faith reminds them that rejection is not a reflection of their worth, but rather a part of the process. When you stand firm in your faith, you don't let a no determine your future. Instead, you believe that God has a better plan, that the right opportunity is just around the corner, and that every rejection is simply redirection. That person picks themselves up, dusts themselves off, and continues to push forward, trusting that the right opportunity is on its way. Faith is also about trusting the timing of your life. We live in a world that is obsessed with instant gratification, where we want things to happen right now. But faith teaches us patience. It teaches us that things may not happen according to our timeline, but they will happen according to God's perfect timing. There's a powerful example of someone who has been praying for years, for a partner, for a relationship that is built on love, trust, and respect. In the midst of waiting, it's easy to feel frustrated, to wonder if it will ever happen. But standing firm in faith means trusting that the right person will come at the right time. It means resisting the urge to settle for something less than what you deserve, and knowing that, even when it feels like time is slipping away, God has been preparing you and your future partner for the moment when you finally meet. And when that moment comes, it will be more beautiful, more perfect, and more fulfilling than anything you could have rushed or forced. Think about the countless times we are faced with the temptation to quit, to let go, or to take the easy way out. In these moments, faith becomes the fuel that keeps us moving forward. It's the belief that, even though the path is hard, it will lead to something greater. It's the voice inside that whispers, "Don't give up now, there's more for you." And when you listen to that voice, when you stand firm in your faith, you find that you are capable of so much more than you ever imagined. You push through the pain, you fight through the uncertainty, and you emerge on the other side stronger than ever. The stories of people who stand firm in their faith are endless. From those who rise from the ashes of failure, to those who hold on through the darkest seasons of their lives, these individuals inspire us to keep going, to trust the process, and to believe in the plan that is greater than our own understanding. Faith isn't always easy. It's not always clear. But when you choose to stand firm, even when the ground is shaking, you will find that you are never standing alone. The strength to keep going, the courage to face the unknown, and the resilience to rise above every obstacle all come from the faith that you hold in your heart. And when you stand firm in that faith, you will find that you are not just surviving the storm, but you are thriving in it. You see, trusting the process is a concept that, when truly understood, can change the trajectory of your life. The process isn't just a simple set of steps that lead you to success. It's the journey, the learning, the growth, and the setbacks that are all a part of the bigger picture. But trusting the process doesn't always mean things will go according to your plan. No, not at all. Sometimes, trusting the process means that you must trust the timing, even when it feels like time is running out, even when it feels like you've missed the boat. It's a belief that everything is unfolding